Hello everyone. So today I'm going to be kitting up my next project, The Meeting by Baylee Jae. As you can see, hopefully, it is some cats in the forest having a little meeting. Um, and you can see this is sort of a scenery change. I figured I would try to do this on my desk. I thought maybe my cats won't jump up here while I'm doing this, even though, I mean, if you like cats, I'm sure you won't mind them being up in the way, but when I'm trying to do something, I don't want them up here so much. But another being the butt hands right when I start recording. Alright, so 29 colors, 3 ABs. And I'm not sure how well you can see this because of where my camera is positioned. It is a little bit closer than usual, I think. So I'm not sure if it's entirely in focus, but there's not much I can do about that. The webcam is not the most user friendly, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. There's 4 bags of this one AP color. And to me, that is just wild. Also, I'm not sure if so. I'm using my laptop's integrated microphone, so I don't know if the audio is gonna be like in one ear instead of if it's gonna be in stereo instead of mono. But hopefully it's in mono because I don't want you, like, if you're listening to this with headphones on, I don't want you to have to, only be hearing me in one ear, because I am to the side of the laptop. Again, 29 colors, lots and lots of green. We got white AV. If you've never seen any of my kitting up videos before, I like to organize mine in gradient color order. So all of the greens are together, all of the browns are together, stuff like that. I don't do them by PMC because it's a little bit easier for my eyes. If I'm doing a big section of green, I don't want to have to look around more than I need to. Here's a yellow, maybe. I know that it looks a bit blown out in the video because of the webcam, but there's not much I can do about it as far as I know. Like, there's no settings option to change it for some reason. But other than that, I'm gonna talk about life a little bit, give you guys an update, because I know when I upload this, there'll be a few videos before this, but before that, I had a sort of a 2-week break, which wasn't really a break for me. I was doing a bunch of stuff, but you weren't there, so, or you weren't getting content from me. So I thought I would talk about it. I currently am in the process of finding a second job, because with inflation and everything like that, I do not make enough money at the moment to where when my lease ends in about 3 months, 2 months, I think, because it ends at the end of December. I don't make enough money where I will potentially, or I'll potentially not be able to either have enough money to renew the lease or to move somewhere with a sort of better price value for the size of apartment, because I live in an apartment. Because I make about $14. I make $14 an hour, but that's that's before taxes and everything. So when it comes, my paycheck is like about $11 an hour after all the tax and stuff. Maybe 12. Somewhere between 11 and 12 after all of the taxes. And I live in one of the very major cities of the country, so things are quite expensive here, unfortunately. But yeah, so I've been a bit stressed about it. Just been applying a whole bunch of places, trying to look at different options of employment, because if I do move, I don't want to move somewhere smaller than where I live right now, because where I live right now is fairly small already. Because where I live, it's less than 600 square feet, which to some people it's like, oh, well, that's not too bad, when you live by yourself, which I know it's not, but it's where I live, there's like bug problems. It can be a bit frustrating when they're like, hey, just like constantly having to be like, hey, I need you to come spray my apartment because you guys just like don't spray regularly enough. So, yeah, I'm doing my best. I'm somewhat saving my money. I won't say I'm being perfect at saving it because I'm not. You get stressed. You go and you buy yourself things to kind of alleviate that stress from time to time. I'm gonna put the yeah, because it's a bit more. There's a bit more gray in this than those. But yeah, it's pretty exhausting. So hopefully the next few weeks I can find something. If not, I'll be quite upset. I did have a few interviews already, and one guy, he was like, okay, it sounds really great, if the big, because he was just like I think he might have been like a manager or something, or just he was like the most in charge for everyone that was there. He was like, the big boss likes it. We will either give you a call tomorrow or tonight or tomorrow, which I was like, okay. But the next day I was having my tattoo appointment because I started a really big chest / torso piece. that is, so it's going to be a bat flying away from a castle. Like Dracula. It's basically Dracula. Um, okay, here's everything sort of sorted out. Like I said, rainbow order. I keep this bag to put the trash in. This is just the bag the girls came in. That way it's all just one big pile instead of having to go around and but again, this is 29 colors. I believe I said it at the beginning, but I don't always remember. Anyway, but so yeah, he said, okay, you'll probably get a call tonight or tomorrow. And so Friday, I was at my appointment, and the tattoo appointment is 7 hours because I booked the full day because I'm like, I want you to be able to do, as much as possible, but do it well, So I'm there for 7 hours. That's how long the full day session. And I did get a call during that, but whoever called me did not leave a voicemail. So I don't know if I need to call them back or not, because I'm like, if you're an employer, you would leave a voicemail letting me know. So I'm conflicted on if I need to call this person back or not, because the caller ID didn't say like, oh, this is this place that you, like a certain place that I applied for. It just said wireless caller. I'm not sure, but so far I've had 4 interviews. I have one later today. I'm filming this in the morning. Today's the 9th for reference. I know it's going out a bit before, or a bit after that, but today is the 9th of October. And I'm trying to film ahead in case I do end up getting a job in the next couple of weeks, because then I really won't have as much time to film, because I do plan on basically be working every single day of the week, because that is how bad things are getting here. Is like, I live in a tiny little place, and my apartment is currently listed at like $500 more than I'm currently paying for rent. And my lease ends in December, so that means between now and then the price is only going to go up. And like I said before, everywhere that is roughly the same size as mine is very, very expensive. So I'll have to be working like pretty much non-stop, unfortunately. So I'm trying to find jobs, or a job, that is different than the one I currently have, because the one I currently have, I'm on a computer all day, and I don't really like that. Like, I know I use a computer and whatnot for filming this stuff, but to me, like, I'm doing this. My entire thing is not just on the computer. And if you've seen my other stuff, I don't edit. I film it, and then I put it up, and that's the thing. I don't feel like I need to do more than that, really. I know, like, my first few videos, I have, like, music in them and stuff, but I was like, this doesn't, like, it doesn't really need to be there. I can get my point across, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, I would like to have a job, a second job, that isn't just on a computer all day, because I personally do not like being on the computer all day. It's just exhausting for me. So we will see. I think I've applied to about 40 places so far. And like I said, I've only had 4 interviews, and I have 1 later today, which is a bit frustrating. And I think also my work schedule does play a part in that, because I work 4/10s, so I go to work 4 days a week, but those 4 days I'm working 10 hours. So it leaves it where there's not a lot of time that I am just available, because also in the job I work, there are times where I have to do a lot of overtime. So that would potentially lead the second job to not be able to have me come in. But I was like, it's the weekend where I'm available. I would assume those would be the busiest days, but it's kind of hard to tell that because of where I live. Like I said, I'm in one of the major cities of the country, so it's just like constantly. There's a constant flow of people. So yeah, I'm frustrated, but I'll figure it out. I've also kind of half jokingly talked to one of my cousins about this and been like, you know what? What if I just start selling feet pics? Because it's always the big joke on the internet is like, oh, just sell feet pics. You'll make good money that way. And I'm like, it's starting to look like I'm gonna have to start selling feet pics. I mean, hopefully not, but I am prepared to do it if the time comes. So we will see. Maybe that'll be my third job, my extra side hustle, Even with that, it takes time. You gotta build your audience. I think I dropped the drill. Yeah. Okay, hold on 1 second. I had to be super careful with the way I move because talk about this. Oh, this is a round drill from my last one. Not sure. I don't know. I thought the drill I felt something fly out of the package, and then hi bud, how are you? I don't know if you can hear me. Hi. I know, I'm doing so. But the drill flew. This is from my last one, I believe, unless these are the same color, and I just don't remember. But I guess I'll talk a little bit about my tattoo. I did say like it's a bat flying away from a castle. Um, Dracula line. Um, so it is covering. It's a big cover up because I had. If you don't know, I'm trans man, trans masculine, non-binary, whatever. I don't really freaking care. I just know I was like, you know what? I don't like this body. I don't like identifying this way. Let's change that. So I did. And part of that was having what we call top surgery, or like the more medical term, I guess, is a bilateral mastectomy, which is pretty similar to when someone has breast cancer and if they're not able to remove the tumor, they end up having to remove the entire breast. Um, that's if you're more familiar with that term. That is what I had about a year and a half ago. Well, maybe a little bit longer than that. But so with that, when you have at least for my sort of version of top surgery, because when someone is a trans woman and they want to have their version of top surgery, they have like implants and different things go along with for them. I'm not entirely educated on that, so that is what I would say. Their process is different from mine. But so for me, uh, they give you an option of if you want to keep your nipple. Hey, bud, no, it's not for you. Okay, here, you can have that. There you go. All right. Parenting tip: if you have a toddler and we're playing with things we shouldn't, replace it with something else for them to play with. Anyway, he's not an actual toddler. He is a cat. He just acts like one. Anyway, so with top surgery for me, they give you an option of if you want to replace or if you want to keep your nipple. Um, so depending on your breast size, they can basically remove it, and then depending on the health of it, after it is sort of removed and placed in something that will keep it alive. I don't know what it is called that they put the actual like nipple tissue and whatnot in, but they put it in something to keep it alive until they put it back on you. But I chose the option of um, not keeping the nipple. So I don't have any nipples, which I know sounds really crazy and probably is very hard to imagine on someone just not having a nipple. I like to say, imagine like when we think of like the little green alien or gray alien, and they don't have anything. That's pretty much what I look like. I'm a bit heavier than them, but it's, we have a similar looking chest. So I don't have the nipple, but I do have these really big scars because I had fairly large breasts. And so they basically did an amputation for me. And then they stretch your skin from the top downwards uh, so they can close it up. And so I have basically one really large scar going from basically the very, very back of my armpit to all the way across to the very, very back of my other armpit. Um, and I have always been like, I kind of want to cover this, not like in a that I think it's ugly or anything like that. Like, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty neat that we have advanced in medicine and science to be like, hey, if you want to just not have some bazongas, we can cut that off for you. Like, I think it's totally dope. I've always wanted to be covered in tattoos, and aside from my disliking of owning a pair of bazongas, uh, I've also like, that's kind of in the way of me being covered in tattoos, especially some spooky ones. So, yeah, I just have this really big, long scar, and now it gets to be covered up with some really cool, like, black and gray gothic art. Um, so, and all the and with the if you don't know, when it comes to like the pain regions of tattooing, your chest is one of the big ouchie zones. Your chest, your ribs, like on the sides, pretty much the entire front of your torso and the sides is just a big ol' ouch. Um, the top part being because it is a lot closer to the bone, um, especially like the collarbone region. Part of the tattoo does go up into like where your collarbone is, and that was just like absolutely horrendous feeling. um, but I survived the first session. I don't know how many sessions we're doing, but it's at least two, and we just did the first one. So on Friday, today's Sunday, but I was pretty okay for the majority of the tattoo, because when he did go over the scar, which I was kind of surprised about because there are some regions of my scar that is a bit more sensitive than the rest. The majority of it, when he was going over the scar, I couldn't really feel it. Like, I could hear the machine, and I can kind of, like, feel the pressure, I guess. It's hard to explain. It's like when something is numb and you touch it, you're not really feeling it in that numb spot, but you're not. There is some sensation, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know how to describe that. It's hard to describe. Like, I knew I'm being tattooed there, but at the same time, it didn't hurt there. It was like right when he would go off of the scar, where it was like, oh, okay, that hurts. Like, all right. And then there was one spot where, like, right in the middle, because that's where, uh, that's basically like your sternum, uh, and your sternum is like fucking big ol' ouchie, like, big time. He had to like, so with scars, when it comes to tattooing, they can be a bit harder to cover because it's a different type of skin. It's a lot thicker, um, so it's a lot harder to get um, to saturate it. And sometimes you really just can't even get it saturated as much as you would like. So there was one spot like right in the middle and in that spot it's a little bit indented, where like the two sides meet. So, oh, and with my scars, they're not really raised that much. There are some spots where it is a little bit raised, but the majority of it is not raised. It is pretty much equal with the rest of it. It's pretty smooth. Um, but like I said, with scars, it's a lot harder to saturate them, and you don't always really know what's going to happen until the tattoo is done healing. So the in the middle, like I said, with the two scars mate, which is also like pretty much your sternum, if I'm remembering my anatomy correctly. He just like really had to like fucking get in there, and it did not feel good. My cat is doing something in my closet. I don't know what he's doing. He's a little bit crazy, a little bit wacky. What are you doing? Okay. Oh, you probably can't hear him because I have the noise sensitivity changed a bit. But, yeah. So he's just like going and going and going, and I'm just like, this sucks. Like there's a point where, cause we talk a little bit while the tattoo's going. I didn't talk really very much during this because I'm like, this is on my chest. I don't want like any unnecessary movement. I want you to make it. I want for it to look as good as possible. You know, it's a little bit different if you're doing my leg or my arm. I can pretty much talk freely, but with your chest, you don't really think about how much you move your chest just in general. But I'm like, I don't want the potential of like fucking this up. So there was a point where he like went to redip his needle and like turned around, and I was like, I'm at that point where I'm like, why do I like tattoos? This hurts. And he was like, yeah, this is not very fun. And he has his whole front done, so he knows the pain of fucking getting your chest done. I mean, it's a little bit different because I have scars, or some spots are not exactly the same, but he was like, yeah, this is rough. It's rough and whatnot, but he's a good sport. He likes to do really dark, like gothic imagery. So, and he does uh, black and white primarily. Like he will do some stuff where there's like a highlight of a color, but majority of it is just straight black and white, which I'm totally down for. Like I don't know if I want everything to be covered in black and white, like on my body, but because there are a few tattoo ideas I do have where I want them to be color, you know, and not everything that I have in my list is spooky. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to someone who does that type of artwork whenever the time comes. Oh boy, I don't know if you can hear my cat running around. He found a toy and he's just zooming, new boot goofing. Uh, but there was a couple of times he was messing with me. He he did a line and he was like, oh shit, and I just kind of looked at him. He's like, it's straight. And I'm like, he's like, you didn't look concerned at all when I did that. And he's like, do you just like trust me that much to like do this? And I was like, well, it's already there, so there wasn't much I could have done about it anyway. And he was just laughing at me. And then later, he was I don't remember if he was doing a line or if he was like shading because it's on my chest. I can't see what he's doing. I'm just like, I know you're hovering over me and you're stabbing me with needles that have ink on them. But he, I didn't want to put this over here instead. Hold on. I don't know. I'll put this over here for now, and then if I feel like changing it later, then I will. But anyway, he was doing whatever. And then he goes, "Pink was an excellent choice," and I'm like, "Yeah." And he was laughing. I grabbed the wrong sticker. But now, and then like right at the very end when he was finishing, because there's a moon as part of this, and the moon is like goes a little bit over my collarbone, which I think I said before. I don't know. I don't have a good memory when it comes to things I talk about. If you can't tell, I'm sure I've said some things like 3 or 4 times already. Um, but the moon like goes over my collarbone, which is just not feel good. And so he pretty much did the moon and the bat's face last. And he did a portion of the moon and then took a little bit of a break because his food came. He needed to eat his dinner, you know. And he like scarfed his food down. I was expecting him to like take his time and eat, you know, because I'm like, you should be able to take your time and eat your food. But he just like inhaled his food, and I'm like, dang. And even like their shop, clerk. I don't know if clerk is the right word. I think she was like going to become someone's apprentice because even she was like, wow, you ate super fast. And he was like, well, when you start tattooing, you'll understand. So I'm assuming she's just like in the process of, you know, learning. So, and with that, you know, depending on the shop you're at, when you start, you are just, you're there, you're cleaning up after people, oh god, I overfilled this like way too much. Let's see. Oop, yeah, okay. I'm gonna dump some of this onto the desk, which questionable move, but it's working. So, but she was like, "You ate really freaking fast." And you're like, "Yeah, well, when you start tattooing, you'll understand." Anyway, so we get to the moon, and what? No, I don't remember what I was going to tell you about the moon. So like right before, so the moon has some texture on it, so it's not just like straight up like curved edges. There's some parts where it's like sort of spikes out, and like there's some dripping on the moon to make it a little bit more spooky. And with that, so he has to like kind of not really scribble, but you know, it's a bit of a scribble, I guess. I'm gonna do something potentially really dumb and try to get this from. I should have poured this into a tray, but there aren't any trays around me, so. And he like did some of the texturing, and then later, like when his food came, he was like finishing the spot he was at, moved to a different section, and then came back and just like did the texture again. And I was like, I was thinking like, why did you do this? Like, he didn't say that, but um, it was funny because it was like, ow, 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 and then he moved to a spot that didn't hurt as much, and then like the last thing he did was go back into the spot where it hurt real bad and did the texture, and and then he went and ate his food, and he was like, I had to do it, and I was like, it was a necessary evil. It's okay. He was like, yeah, but um, yeah. Find you a tattoo artist that you can goof with. If you like tattoos, if you're able to sit through the big ouchies, as I like to call them. Um, but earlier he was like, "What snack?" Because I told him I was gonna stop for some snacks because that's what you should bring snacks when you get tattooed. Like I usually have like a Gatorade, and then I'll try to bring something mildly nutritious, and and then I'll bring like something that is just like absolutely like junk for your body. Uh, so I had my Gatorade, I had my water, and then I got two peanut granola bars, a protein cookie, and then I got a cosmic brownie because I'm like, these are very hard to find in the wild. So now is my time. And by the time he had asked me like what snacks I had eaten pretty much everything except for the cosmic brownie. And I was like, oh, I had like a protein cookie, and then I got a cosmic brownie. And he was like, that's the best answer I've heard. Is a cosmic brownie. And I'm just like, hey, you got to do it to yourself sometime. Just, because I didn't have a lot of like snack cakey things growing up. We didn't, uh, well, specifically cosmic brownies. Like I wasn't much of a snacker really. Like when I was really little, like elementary school. But I always think about like cosmic brownies for some reason. But and now I'm like, I'm an adult. I can definitely just go out and buy a box of them if they still sell them in the boxes. Because when I found it, it was just like you could buy an individual brownie. Um, Also, I'm not sure if it's getting really dark for you, but the lighting, the sun has moved. Some clouds have come to cover the sun. But yeah, I feel like an absolute goofball though. And she's like, "Oh, what snacks do you have?" And I'm like, "Oh, I have a cosmic brownie." And like, what a goofy answer. But it was a good time. There was a point where, so in the shop he's at, it's like an open shop, open studio. I don't know what you would call it, but so they don't have like their own rooms really. They are like, it's a big open space for the most part. And so him and the other people were like talking about tattoos that they hate doing. And it's all like the classic of like, I want a lion and a clock and a rose with all my family's initials in the rose petals. I want a compass, stuff like that. That like everyone and their mom hates to do, but they're the classics. Like I personally don't have any of those. I think maybe the closest. No, actually, I don't have anything that is like similar to that at all. uh, but I don't have a lot of tattoos. I have 3 now, or no, I have 5 now. I forget I have certain things on my body. I regularly forget that I have tattoos, and then I like go and I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, that's there. Like, but I think that's normal for tattoo people. Cause I asked my friends about that, and they're like, yeah, I regularly forget that there's just artwork on my body, so it makes me feel a little bit less stupid when like I go and look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, that's there. Forgot that was there. But I don't know where I was going with that. I just, like I said, my brain just be going off. Um, but my next appointment is in January. I don't know if I don't know. I think I said this, but I don't know how many sessions this tattoo is going to take. Because we got the bat done and the moon done. Next time we're starting the castle, and I don't know how big the castle is going to be. Because I'm like, I told him, I was like, the goal is to cover the scars, but I'm totally cool with just like covering the entire front. So we'll have to see if we cover the whole front or not. There's one. And I think I said this, but with the I don't know the word for this. The layout, there we go. The layout of the tattoo, we're not going to be covering all of this bar, which I'm totally fine with. I'm like, I just want to look cool. I want to scare old people and make kids think I look cool. That is the goal. But I also want to have like really nice artwork. I don't want to be like just janky artwork for the sake of just being tattooed. I want it to look nice. So this is probably gonna be all of these. We'll see. Yeah, I would like to look nice. Even though my goal is to pretty much be completely covered. By the time I'm like an old person and can't move my body around anymore, which I already feel like sometimes, even though I'm 24, I have like bad joints and whatnot. From just like not knowing how to take care of myself really earlier, because from high school and being in marching band, we weren't the best at really warming up the body before running around doing stuff. So a lot of us have old people joints that we like to call it. you know, I would like to look cool. Um, but I also um sent the guy my reference photos or a back piece for whenever we finish the front. I don't know when we're gonna finish the front because, like I said, I don't know if it's gonna cover the entirety of my front or not. Because the main goal was to cover the scarring, but at the same time, I'm like, hey, if we cover the front all the way, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, even if we don't cover the whole front, I'm sure we can figure out something to like put there to extend it. And it's funny because the so I've seen him 3 times because he did my last tattoo, which was on my thigh, and for that it was 2 sessions, 2 full day, 7 hour sessions. Because you know he takes his time. He's like, I want this to look good, and I'm like, hell yeah, I want it to look good too. But it's not like he's just not doing anything. Like he gets a lot done in that time. But so when he goes to like play something, he's like, oh, we can do it this way, that way, and I'm that person. I'm like, you know, if you think it'll look better this way, put it there. And he's like, yeah, but I also want your input. And I'm like, I know you want my input. But at the same time, I'm like, you're the professional here. I'm just a dumb idiot who wants to look cool. I am not the person who is like, it has to be here. You cannot make any changes. None of that. No. I'm like, you're the professional. You know what the fuck you're doing. I'm just a dumb idiot. Like, you know what's up. So, and then it always comes out looking really cool. Because I'm like, hey man, dude. Just like, do your thing. So yeah. I think, just because like I really enjoy his artwork and stuff, his, how things have turned out on my body so far, I guess. The right terminology, I guess. I'll probably have him do like the majority of the remainder of my tattoos. Because I do want a lot of like spooky stuff. Um, and like I said, he does really cool stuff. I am I think I just have to figure out what stuff I want in black and gray and what stuff I want in color. Because like there are a few things I want that are like definitely like this has to be in color. But I think the majority, I'm like, yeah, this can be bought in gray. Alright, 4 bags. I'm gonna go with 3 of these. Also, if you've made it this far, thank you. And I don't think I mentioned it, but this is the Harbor Freight containers. I believe they're only sold in America, but I know there's a bunch of, like, people who are like, if you're not in America, we will, ship it to you. You just have to pay them. I personally am not one of those people. I don't have the financial ability to do that because life. But yeah, and I feel like some people are probably like, well, are you over here talking about being stressed? But you're also saying you started a big tattoo project, and I'm like, yeah, that is true. But at the same time, these are things that I have been saving up for, and I still have some money in case of if there's like an emergency or something like that. It's not like a I'm gonna go do this and then have $0 left in my bank account. It's not how I'm doing that. I'm very big on because I have like anxiety really bad for some stuff. I'm like I need to make sure I have enough money to do what I need to do, like bills and feed myself. Um, and like my tattoo appointments are 3 months apart. And so like the last time I was tattooed was probably June, and now it's October. So it's been 4 months. And in that time, I was saving my money and yeah, like just saving money, making sure I'm able to do that. I'm able to like somewhat enjoy. Like, hold up, there's because I had this conversation with my grandma, which was a dumb decision because I was telling her about me trying to find a second job, and I had told her part of that. So I was telling her my schedule for the week, um, and part of that I had mentioned going and getting my first session of my tattoo done, and with that she was like, well, that's why you don't have any money, and I'm like, I have money, like I'm doing it responsibly where I have enough in case something happens. I'm not just going willy-nilly. Um, yeah, and like I'm I have enough. I don't know if forethought is the right word. Where I'm like, okay, because of how things are going, I need to figure out, or like I need to get a second job. Uh, so that way I'm not super stressed when it comes to the time of, renewing my lease if I need to, if I'm not able to move, or just being able to move in the next, 3 months. I'm thinking ahead. Cause like I have like a whole checkbook, uh, that I go over, which it kind of makes me feel like an old person because I don't think many younger people are like, yeah, let me go make sure that I put down everything that I've spent so that way I can know how much money I'll have in the future. Or like in my bank account once it like processes. Um, but like I do things like that. Like I have a budget. So I'm at least, trying to make an effort so that way in the future it's I'm not as stressed. And I I take into account how much uh like the tattoo is because it is a fair amount of money that I do spend. Um, and I put that in the budget for when it comes time for that, and I just keep track of this is how much I've spent, and then I'll like look ahead to see and make sure that I still have that money plus a good fair amount extra still in the bank. Um, so I'm doing my best to be smart about it. And then I am I don't know what I was gonna say, but so far with interviews, I've had some food places, some retail, um, but you will see. So far, none of them, like except for that one where I said I got a call, but the person didn't leave a voicemail. I don't know if that was one of the interview people or not, because they didn't leave a voicemail. And I'm like, if it's important, you leave a voicemail. But overall, I'm doing what I can now, so I don't have to. I'm being stressed now, so I don't have to be stressed later. so, so we will see. And like, even if I do end up having to like move my tattoo appointment or something, the guy's super chill. He's not gonna be like, oh, well, you have this schedule, and so blah blah blah. No, dude is chill. He's pretty dope. I would be his friend. But I have social anxiety, so I don't become friends with very many people. I like to say I have two friends, and both of them, I even them, I don't really talk to that much. Either because they're busy, or I just like forget sometimes. Like I don't have the best object permanence all the time, so I'll be like, yeah, that person, let me send them something, and then I send them something or like whatnot, and then I just forget and don't talk to them for like a month. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should talk to them. But we have 6 colors left. We're almost there. Exciting times. My tattoo is hurting a little bit. It's kind of like when you get a cat scratch or any sort of scratch, and later it hurts in like one tiny spot, and then the pain moves a little bit, and then it like goes away, and then it'll come back. That's the stage we're at for this one, which I don't think I've had with my other ones, if I remember correctly. I do think it's just probably like the placement of it, because you do move a lot. You do move your chest quite a lot without thinking about it. Like with all the muscles and whatnot there. And like your breathing and just stuff like that. Things you don't think about. It's like they say like when you break your finger and then like you have to change your whole life around because one finger is stuck in one spot and you don't realize how much you use it until you can't use it. Stuff like that. Okay. Nearly there. Okay. I thought I was missing a color because this was on top of it in a way that I thought they were attached, but no. Okay. 890. Really, really dark green. So my toddler, as I like to call him, he's not an actual toddler, he is a cat. He's 5, which by then cats are adults. Depending on the cat, usually between like 1 and 2 years old they become adults. It does change depending on the breed, but I like to call him my toddler because he acts like a toddler. He was found outside, and I got him from a cat shelter, sort of. But the place I got him from, they usually deal with like special needs cats. But he does not have special needs. He's just very emotional. He is very attached to me. Sometimes a little bit too much, in my opinion. Like right now, he's just sitting and watching me do this. Anywhere I go in the apartment, he follows me. He will start crying if he thinks I've gone into the void. And by that, I mean, like, I go into the bathroom, and he just, like, didn't follow me or didn't see me, like, go that way. And he's like, "You've gone forever. Come back." And then I have to, like, make a noise so that way he will know where I am. He doesn't eat people food, but he wants to smell it really bad. Sometimes when I'm cooking something, he will sit there and just like start crying because he wants to smell what I'm making. And it's like, buddy, you don't have to smell every single thing. But in his little mind, he's like, I need to know. I need to poison check for you. So far the smells that he does not like are bananas, a few spicy things, and I think there was something else, but those are like the ones that come to mind. There aren't very many when it comes to him, but yeah, he just wants to smell it and then he's good to go, which I don't really understand because a lot of, you'd think, okay, he's from the outdoors, he's a wild boy. I would think, okay, you want to eat every single thing that you get your little paws on. But no, he's like, I just want to smell it, and then he's good. Like, I'll sit down with food, and he is like in my face. And when he smells something, he gets as physically close as possible. It's like, imagine if you had a stuffy nose, and you just gotta get real close to something so you can smell it. That's him, except he doesn't have a stuffy nose. He can breathe perfectly fine out of his little nostrils. But yeah, he's just like, please let me smell, or otherwise I will cry and be in your way. He also really likes to go into closets. I think just because it's dark, so if you can take a look at. Because my apartment has really big windows, so and I have like sunscreens on them to help with the heat. But there is just like pretty much a constant good amount of light coming through, even with the sunscreen and the blinds being closed. Like right now, blinds are closed, but it is really well lit in here. Yeah, he's something else. Just a funky little guy. I'm gonna pull out 3, just in case one of these last 2 colors needs a second one. Also, if you care, only 2 bags of 310. I know some people really don't like working with 310 because it can be a bit much, but like this piece doesn't have, it's just the cat, and even the cats are not entirely 310. Some of it is blue, and there's 3 blue colors, and they're all really, really dark blue. There you go. My tattoo tingles. But so, anyway, back to the toddler. He's also very determined to make friends with my senior citizen, as I like to call her, because she's 18. She turns 19 in December. She's an old lady. But she's like, get away from me. I do not want to deal with you. But him, he's 5. He still gets the zoomies quite regularly. He likes to chase her. Luckily, she has a few spots where she can get away from him, but there are times where I have to be like, leave her alone. Try to distract him with something else. Still, no. Also, sometimes I wonder if you guys try to decipher my tattoos when I when they're visible. Because I don't, like, I know you can see them sometimes, but I don't know if there's ever been a point where you can, like, really fully see them. Aside from maybe the one on my, like, forearm, inner forearm. Just for the most part, they're, like, one is on my thigh, and the other two are on my upper arm, which you just saw part of here. And, like, if you just see that part, you're like, what is that? I'm not gonna tell you unless you ask me, but it's a secret. The toddler is sleeping in the hallway. As soon as I get up, he will start crying. He's very emotional. He has big emotions. That's why he's so big. He's not fat by any means. He is very muscular though. I don't know how cats get very strong and muscular like that, but you do be having the muscles. He's like very little fat on him, but a lot of fuzz. Maybe the fur like insulates him and just like burns all the fat off of it. Who knows? Also, I think I did say, or in my last video, I said that I might have had something to upload in between the unbox or the I'm showing in between the post review and the unboxing. I might still do that. It's just gonna be. I'll talk about it in the video, depending on when it comes out, but it'll be slightly different than how I actually do it. Because I do want to film how I do my diamond painting journal, which I do think, I'm pretty sure that video will come out before this one or the unboxing. But there are some steps in it that won't be there because I accidentally did it out of order. So it might be postponed if it hasn't come out before this. But yeah, anyway, that is all. Here's our drill. I don't know if you heard that. That was my stomach. Yeah, that's our drill. Honestly, it took up a little bit less space than I thought it would. Just because of how many baggies there were for the 29 colors. But that is all for now. I'll see you in the next one. Remember to be safe, drink some water, try to get 3 meals a day in, do some stretches, some self-care, be kind to yourself. And I'll see you in the next video, whatever that may be. But I will, again, I'll see you next time.